Imagine waking up in a world where magic dictates everything. Your wealth, your social standing, and your right to live are all determined by how much mana you hold in your veins. Now imagine waking up in that exact same world as a nobleman, with absolutely zero mana. Yeah, that's a one-way ticket to the guillotine. But what if, instead of just being a magical cripple, you possessed a passive trait so broken it defied the laws of the universe? A trait called absolute immunity. Welcome to the story of Kyle. Before he was the Abyssal Tyrant, before he built an undead army that made the Holy Empire wet their royal pants. He was just a guy from Earth who got T-boned by a semi-truck while rushing to buy a limited edition gaming console. Typical Ice Guy Tuesday, right? Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't end up getting ice guyed by a rogue dump truck. Let's get into the story. Kyle slowly opens his eyes, his head pounding like a bass drum. He expects to see a hospital ceiling, but instead, he's staring at the vaulted, gold-plated ceiling of a grand courtroom. He's kneeling on cold marble, his hands bound in heavy iron chains. Memories flood his brain that aren't his own. He has reincarnated into the body of Baron Kyle von Valerius, the disgraced, illegitimate son of a duke in the Holy Empire of Valerius. Standing above him is his half-brother, Cedric, wearing robes shimmering with high-tier enchantments. Cedric has a punchable face and a smirk so arrogant it practically begs for a brick. Cedric announces to the Court of Archmages that Kyle is a stain on their bloodline, a rare anomaly born without a single drop of mana. In the Empire, being monoless isn't just unlucky, it's considered a curse from the devil. The Archmage Council doesn't just want to strip Kyle of his noble title, they want him dead. But Cedric, playing the merciful brother for the public, suggests exile instead. He decrees that Kyle will be sent to the northern marches, specifically a frozen wasteland known as Frostholm. The court gasps. Frostholm isn't just a snowy tourist trap, it's the sealed entrance to the abyss. The air is so thick with demonic miasma that anyone who breathes it rots from the inside out in a matter of days. It's a death sentence disguised as mercy. As Kyle is dragged away, he spots a single person stepping forward to defend him. It's Seraphina, his personal knight. She has silver hair, piercing blue eyes, and an aura of absolute loyalty. Despite Cedric's threats, Seraphina drops to one knee and swears she will follow Kyle into the frozen hell. She is a master of the sword, relying on physical aura rather than magic, which makes her a pariah among the magic-obsessed nobles as well. The first member of the future tyrant's harem has locked in her loyalty. The journey to Frostholm takes 3 grueling weeks. Kyle and Seraphina are escorted by a squad of the Empire's elite mage guards, led by a sadistic captain named Vayne. Vayne isn't just here to escort them. Cedric secretly paid him to make sure Kyle suffers on the way. As the carriage enters the freezing tundra, the temperature drops to lethal levels. The guards use fire magic to keep themselves warm, leaving Kyle and Seraphina in an uninsulated wooden cart to freeze. Seraphina gives Kyle her only fur cloak, shivering as she grips her sword. Kyle, observing the guards laughing at their misery, feels a cold rage building inside him. The Empire threw him away like trash. They think he's powerless. But Kyle notices something strange, the biting magical frost in the air. He can't feel it. In fact, when Vayne purposefully shoots a minor ember spell at the cart to scare them, the embers hit Kyle's skin and simply vanish. No burn, no pain, nothing. On the final night before reaching Frostholm, Captain Vayne decides he's bored. He tells his men it's time to finish the job so they can go back to the capital. They surround the cart in the middle of a blizzard. Seraphina draws her blade, her aura flaring as she prepares to fight 5 mages at once to protect her lord. Vayne laughs, his hands glowing with a condensed Tier 3 Hellfire blast. It's a spell that can melt a small building. He points it directly at Kyle and fires. The massive column of roaring flames engulfs the entire cart. Seraphina screams, throwing herself forward, but before she can reach him, the flames dissipate. The smoke clears. Kyle is standing there completely unharmed. His clothes are slightly singed, but his skin is pristine. The mages freeze, their jaws dropping to the snow. Magic didn't work. It didn't just miss. The spell hit him dead on and was completely nullified. Kyle looks at his hands, a dark smile spreading across his face. So that's how it is, he mutters. He isn't just monolith. His body actively deletes magic. Vayne panics. He screams at his men to cast everything they have. Lightning bolts, wind blades, ice spikes, a barrage of high-tier spells rain down on Kyle. And every single one of them fizzles out the moment they touch his skin. It's like watching toddlers throw water balloons at a tank. Realizing spells are useless, Vayne draws a physical dagger and lunges. But Kyle isn't just standing there anymore. With a surge of adrenaline, Kyle sidesteps the clumsy mage and grabs Vayne's wrist, twisting it until a sickening crack echoes in the wind. Kyle takes the dagger and, without a second of hesitation, drives it straight into the captain's throat. Blood splatters the snow. The remaining guards turn and run in absolute terror, but Seraphina, recovering from her shock, dashes forward like a silver blur, cutting down the fleeing mages in seconds. As Vayne's lifeless body hits the snow, a translucent blue screen suddenly materializes in front of Kyle's eyes. A mechanical voice rings in his head. Ding, first kill secured, initiating system. Host is immune to mana, recalibrating. Class acquired, Abyssal Warden, you have gained 500 EXP, level up. Kyle's eyes widen. A video game interface floats in the air, showing his stats. He isn't just immune to magic, he has a system, and he gets experience points for killing. A twisted grin forms on his face. The Empire thinks they sent him to his death. No, they just gave the ultimate gamer an infinite grinding zone. The next morning, Kyle and Seraphina reach the borders of Frostholm. The sky here isn't blue, it's a swirling vortex of purple and black clouds. The air is thick with demonic miasma, a toxic fog that seeps out from the massive crack in the earth known as the Abyssal Rift. Seraphina immediately starts coughing, her aura struggling to push back the poison. But Kyle, he takes a deep breath. To him, the miasma feels like a crisp spring morning. Because the miasma is magical in nature, his body completely filters it out. Realizing Seraphina is in danger, Kyle opens his new system menu. He has one skill point from his level up. He looks at his newly unlocked Abyssal Warden talent tree and selects a skill, Aura of the Overlord passive. Grants allies within a 10-meter radius 50% resistance to all magical toxins. He activates it, and a pulse of dark energy surrounds him. Seraphina immediately stops coughing, looking at Kyle in awe. He just saved her life without chanting a single spell. They arrive at the ruins of Frostholm Keep, a crumbling stone fortress sitting precariously close to the rift. But they aren't alone. The scent of fresh blood has attracted the locals. Emerging from the purple fog are a dozen abyssal shadow wolves, massive, decaying beasts with glowing red eyes, and fur made of solidified dark magic. Seraphina prepares for a desperate last stand, but Kyle steps in front of her. He pulls Vayne's blood-stained dagger from his belt. "Rest, Seraphina," he says, his voice cold and commanding. "Let me show you why they shouldn't have sent me here." The alpha wolf lunges, firing a beam of concentrated dark energy from its maw. The beam hits Kyle square in the chest and vanishes. The wolf looks confused, which is a fatal mistake. Kyle steps forward, using the physical stat boost he got from leveling up, and drives the dagger straight through the beast's skull. Ding, Abyssal Shadow Wolf killed. EXP. The pack goes wild, rushing him all at once. What follows isn't a battle, it's a one-sided massacre. Kyle weaves through their magical attacks as if they don't exist. He slashes, stabs, and brutalizes the monsters with terrifying efficiency. With every kill, his system chimes, his EXP bar fills, and his physical strength rapidly increases. Within 10 minutes, the courtyard is littered with 12 dead abyssal beasts. Ding, level up. Ding, level up. Host has reached level 5, unlocking class-specific skill, necromantic subjugation. Kyle reads the description of his new skill. It allows him to resurrect and command any monster he has slain, turning them into loyal, undead thralls. Their strength scales with his level. He walks over to the massive corpse of the alpha wolf. He raises his hand, and a sinister, pitch-black aura erupts from his palm. Arise. The shadow wolf's corpse begins to twitch. Its flesh knits back together with black threads of energy, and its eyes snap open, no longer glowing red, but a vibrant, subservient blue. The beast bows its head, nuzzling Kyle's hand like a loyal puppy. He proceeds to resurrect the entire pack. Seraphina falls to her knees, watching her disgraced lord command the beasts of the abyss. Kyle looks out over the desolate, cursed wasteland of Frostthome, surrounded by his newly born undead army. He looks back toward the direction of the capital. They wanted a monster, Kyle whispers, his eyes glowing with dark ambition. I'll give them a tyrant. And that, guys, is where we leave part 1. If you want to see Kyle build his unkillable army, conquer the frozen wastes, and march back to the capital to show that arrogant brother what real power looks like, smash that like button and drop a comment down below. Welcome back, guys. In the last part, our boy Kyle was exiled to the frozen wasteland of Frostthome, a place literally dripping with demonic poison, all because he was born without mana. But the joke is on the Empire. Kyle's body is a magic-deleting black hole, and he's just awakened the Abyssal Warden system. He's already massacred a pack of demonic shadow wolves and resurrected them as his own personal, undead pets. If you're ready to see how Kyle turns this frozen hellscape into an impenetrable fortress, make sure you hit that like button. Let's dive back in. Frostthome Keep was once a proud fortress guarding the entrance to the Abyssal Rift, but now it's just a pile of frozen rubble. Or at least it was. Kyle sits on a crumbling stone throne in the main hall, casually looking at his system interface while his undead shadow wolves do all the heavy lifting. And I mean literally. The undead beasts don't feel fatigue, so Kyle has them hauling massive boulders, clearing debris, and rebuilding the walls. Seraphina, his fiercely loyal knight, walks in carrying a tray of roasted beast meat. She is still trying to process the fact that her disgraced, monolith lord is currently commanding a pack of abyssborn horrors like their golden retrievers. Kyle takes the food and gives her a warm smile. Eat with me, Seraphina. You've been freezing for 3 weeks. You need the stamina more than I do. Seraphina blushes, her icy exterior melting just a bit. In the capital, nobles treated knights like disposable tools, but Kyle treats her as an equal. To his enemies, Kyle is a ruthless monster, but to the people who are loyal to him, he's the most generous lord in the world. He makes a mental note. He needs to farm more EXP and find some thermal gear. The cold doesn't bother him because of his stats. But Seraphina is only human. Meanwhile, back in the glittering capital of the Holy Empire, half-brother Cedric is pacing a hole into his expensive carpet. It's been weeks and he hasn't received the confirmation letter from Captain Vane. Cedric is a paranoid coward. He doesn't just want Kyle dead, he wants proof. He visits the underground black market and hires the Shadow Weaver, an infamous high-tier mage assassin named Alara. Alara is known for her flawless track record and her unique ability to blend into the shadows using dark magic. Cedric pays her a mountain of gold just to travel to Frostthome and bring back Kyle's head. Alara accepts, thinking this is going to be the easiest payday of her life. An exiled, monolith cripple in the abyss. He's probably already a popsicle. Fast forward a few days. Alara arrives at the borders of Frostthome. She uses her high-tier Shadow Veil spell to cloak her presence from the toxic miasma and the local monsters. She expects to find a frozen wasteland littered with bones. Instead, she looks down from a cliff and her jaw drops. Frostthome Keep isn't a ruin. It's a bustling, heavily fortified military camp. Dozens of massive undead beasts are patrolling the perimeter, their eyes glowing with eerie blue light. And sitting in the courtyard, completely unbothered by the demonic miasma, is her target, Kyle. He's bare-chested, doing push-ups in the snow with 2 massive shadow wolves sitting on his back for extra weight. Alara is utterly confused, but she's a professional. She slips into the courtyard, moving from shadow to shadow. She targets Kyle's blind spot. She raises her daggers, both coated in lethal, Tier 4 necrosis venom, a magic poison that rots the target's soul on contact. Alara lunges. She strikes with blinding speed, aiming both daggers straight at Kyle's neck. But just before the blades connect, Kyle doesn't dodge. He doesn't even look up. He simply reaches back with one hand and catches both of her wrists in a grip like a hydraulic press. Alara's eyes widen in shock. She immediately channels her Tier 4 Shadow Bind spell, attempting to lock his body in place with tendrils of dark magic. The tendrils wrap around Kyle's arms and instantly evaporate into thin air. Pop, gone. Kyle slowly stands up, the 2 shadow wolves hopping off his back. He turns to face the stunned assassin. Shadow magic, huh? Kyle smirks, his eyes glinting with amusement. Not bad, but you brought magic to a fist fight. Before Alara can react, Kyle casually sweeps her legs out from under her and pins her to the snowy ground. The magical venom on her daggers touches his skin and turns into harmless water. Alara is terrified. She is one of the most feared mages in the underworld, and this cripple just dismantled her ultimate assassination technique without even breaking a sweat. Seraphina rushes out, drawing her sword, ready to execute the intruder, but Kyle raises a hand, stopping her. He looks down at Alara. She's beautiful with striking violet eyes and long dark hair, but right now she's shivering in fear. Let me guess, Kyle says smoothly. My idiot brother Cedric sent you. Alara nods, too stunned to lie. Here is your situation, Kyle says, his voice dropping to a terrifying, commanding baritone. If you go back and tell him I'm alive, he'll kill you to tie up loose ends. If you try to fight me, my wolves will use your bones as chew toys. But if you swear your absolute loyalty to me, right here, right now, I will give you power that the Empire's archmages could only dream of. Alara looks at the undead monsters surrounding her. She looks at Kyle, a man who literally deletes magic from existence. She knows a winning bet when she sees one. She drops her daggers, bows her head in the snow, and swears fealty to the Abyssal Overlord. Just like that, the deadliest assassin in the Empire becomes the second member of Kyle's inner circle. Inside the rebuilt keep, Alara gives Kyle a full debriefing. Cedric is planning to solidify his position as the heir to the dukedom in exactly 1 month. If he doesn't hear from Alara by then, he will likely send a full battalion of the Empire's holy knights to purge Frostholm entirely, framing it as a crusade against the Abyss. Kyle taps his fingers on his stone throne. A battalion of holy knights is heavily armored and highly trained. His pack of 12 shadow wolves won't be enough. He needs an army, a massive one. Kyle stands up, his system interface glowing in front of him. He looks at Seraphina and Alara. Pack your gear, he commands. We're not waiting for them to come to us. We're going to build our army. Where? Alara asks, still trying to understand her terrifying new boss. Kyle points out the window, directly toward the swirling, chaotic vortex of the abyssal rift. Down there. The Empire thinks the Abyss is a prison. Let's go show them it's actually an armory. The trio marches into the rift. The deeper they go, the thicker the miasma gets. Seraphina and Alara rely heavily on Kyle's aura of the Overlord to survive the toxic air. The ground here isn't snow. It's jagged black obsidian, and the air echoes with the roars of ancient nightmares. Suddenly, the ground shakes. A massive shadow looms over them, blocking out the purple light of the rift. It's a behemoth. A Class A demonic troll, standing 30 feet tall, wielding a club made from the spine of a dragon. Its eyes lock onto the intruders, and it lets out a roar that threatens to burst their eardrums. Kyle doesn't flinch. He draws his blade, a manic, battle-hungry grin spreading across his face. All right, big guy, Kyle laughs, his physical stats flaring to their absolute limit. Let's see how much EXP you drop. And guys, that is where we are ending part 2. Will Kyle be able to solo a Class A demonic boss using only pure physical power and his broken immunity? You'll have to wait for the next part to find out. If you're loving this series, comment Tyrant down below to let me know. Welcome back to the epic saga of Kyle, the monolith outcast turned abyssal tyrant. When we last left off, Kyle, along with his loyal knight Seraphina and his newly acquired assassin Alara, descended into the toxic depths of the abyssal rift to farm some serious EXP. And they immediately ran into a roadblock, a 30-foot-tall, Class A demonic troll. If you want to see Kyle suplex a monster the size of a building, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's get right into the action. The demonic troll roars, sending a shockwave of condensed dark magic echoing through the obsidian cavern. For a normal awakened, this roar alone would shatter their eardrums and rot their mana core, but Kyle just yawns, picking a bit of earwax out of his ear with his pinky. The magical shockwave washes over him and completely fizzles out. Is that it? Kyle smirks. You've got bad breath, big guy, I'll give you that. The troll is enraged. It raises its massive club, forged from the spine of a dead dragon, and brings it crashing down toward Kyle, while Kyle is immune to magic. He isn't immune to 100 tons of physical bone crushing his skull. He dodges to the side, the ground exploding into obsidian shrapnel where he just stood. Alara prepares to cast a shadow spell to assist him, but Kyle waves her off. "Stay back, this one is all mine." With the physical stats he farmed from the Shadow Wolves, Kyle's speed is terrifying. He sprints up the troll's massive club as it lifts it for another strike. He leaps into the air, drawing Vane's dagger, now reinforced with a system-granted durability buff. The troll tries to blast him out of the air with a massive beam of dark energy from its mouth. But the beam hits Kyle's chest and harmlessly parts around him like water hitting a rock. Kyle lands squarely on the troll's face and drives the dagger directly into its glowing red eye, twisting the blade and using his raw, monstrous strength to crack the beast's skull from the inside. Ding, Class A Demonic Troll slain, plus 15000 EXP. Ding, level up. Ding, level up. Ding, level up. You have reached level 15. Unlocking class-specific skill. Abyssal Command allows telepathic control of all subjugated units. Kyle lands gracefully on the ground as the massive troll collapses behind him in a cloud of black dust. Seraphina and Alara are absolutely speechless. A Class A boss usually requires a full raid team of elite mages to take down. Kyle just soloed it with a rusty dagger and pure, unadulterated disrespect. Kyle doesn't waste time. He raises his hand, channeling his necromantic subjugation. Arise. The troll's corpse violently twitches. The gaping wound in its eye seals shut with black energy, and it stands back up, its eyes now glowing subservient blue. Kyle has just acquired the ultimate vanguard tank for his undead army. He names him Tiny. For the next 4 weeks, the Abyssal Rift becomes Kyle's personal all-you-can-eat EXP buffet. The trio delves deeper and deeper into the chasm. Because Kyle formed a system party with Seraphina and Alara, they also get a share of the EXP, causing their physical stats and agility to skyrocket. Past anything the Empire's magic academies could ever teach. Alara, who was already a deadly assassin, is now moving so fast she literally leaves afterimages. Seraphina's sword aura is so dense it can cleave through solid bedrock, and they are completely devoted to Kyle, the man who gave them this impossible power. By the end of the month, Kyle has reached level 30. His army has grown from 12 wolves to a massive legion. He has armored abyssal spiders, demonic minotaurs, and swarms of shadow bats. But his crowning achievement happens on the final day in the rift. Buried deep in the ice at the bottom of the chasm, they find it, the perfectly preserved, frozen skeleton of an Abyssal Drake, a dragon of the underworld. Kyle dumps all his remaining mana-substitute points into subjugation and casts the spell. When the massive skeletal dragon roars to life, shaking the very foundations of the rift. Kyle knows he is ready. He has heir superiority. Back in the capital, the 1-month deadline has passed. Cedric is furious. Alara hasn't returned, and there is no word from Frostthome. Paranoia consuming him, Cedric manipulates his father, the Duke, and the Archmage Council, claiming that Kyle has allied with demons and is plotting a heretical rebellion. The Emperor himself authorizes a purge. He deploys the Silver Vanguards, a battalion of 1,000 elite holy knights led by Paladin Commander Gideon, an SS-rank light mage. Their mission, march to Frostthome, burn everything to the ground, and bring back Kyle's head on a silver platter. The Silver Vanguards march through the freezing tundra, their enchanted golden armor keeping them warm and arrogant. Commander Gideon rides at the front, looking utterly bored. He considers this mission an insult. Why send 1,000 elite mages to kill one monolith cripple? As they approach Frostthome, Gideon orders his mages to begin chanting a massive, wide area holy smite, spell to instantly vaporize the ruined keep from a distance. A massive golden magic circle appears in the sky, crackling with divine energy. "Fire!" Gideon commands. A pillar of pure holy light crashes down onto Frostthome Keep. The snow vaporizes, the ground shakes, and a massive cloud of steam rises into the air. Gideon smirks. "Mission accomplished. Let's go home, men." But as the steam clears, Gideon's smirk vanishes. Frostthome Keep isn't destroyed. In fact, it's bigger than ever. Its walls are reinforced with black obsidian. Standing on the highest tower, completely unharmed by the orbital holy laser, is Kyle. Kyle brushes a bit of dust off his shoulder. Was that supposed to tickle? He shouts down at the army. Gideon is horrified. That spell should have erased a mountain. Before he can order a second attack, the ground beneath the Holy Knights begins to violently shake. The massive wooden gates of Frostholm keep slowly creak open. A terrifying, guttural roar echoes across the tundra. Tiny, the undead demonic troll, charges out, swinging its dragonspine club and sending a dozen heavily armored knights flying into the air like bowling pins. Behind the troll, hundreds of glowing blue eyes pierce through the purple miasma. The abyssal shadow wolves, the minotaurs, and the spiders swarm out, moving with perfect, telepathically coordinated military precision. And then the sky turns black. Commander Gideon looks up in absolute terror as the massive skeletal Abyssal Drake descends from the clouds, breathing a torrent of black, necrotic fire that melts the knight's magical shields like butter. Kyle steps off the tower, using his maxed-out agility stats to gently float to the ground. He draws his blade, walking calmly toward the chaotic battlefield. Seraphina and Alara flank him, their eyes cold and merciless. Kyle points his sword directly at Commander Gideon, who is currently scrambling backward in the snow, screaming for reinforcements that will never come. "You wanted a heretic, Gideon?" Kyle's voice magically amplifies across the battlefield, ringing with absolute authority. "Congratulations, you found the tyrant. Leave no survivors." And that's the end of Part 3. The war has officially begun. The Empire poked the bear, and now they have an undead dragon knocking on their front door. If you want to see Kyle completely conquer the Holy Empire and build his new world order, make sure you like the video and comment Abyssal Drake down below. Welcome back to the grand finale. Our boy Kyle has officially had enough. He survived Exile, conquered the Abyss, built an undead army, and just wiped out 1,000 of the Empire's most elite Holy Knights. Now it's time for a little family reunion. If you're hyped to see Kyle kick down the doors of the Holy Empire and take what's his, smash that like button. Let's finish this epic journey. The march from Frostholm to the capital of Valerius takes exactly 3 days. And let me tell you, it's not a quiet stroll. The ground shakes as thousands of undead abyssal minotaurs, shadow wolves, and spiders march in perfect unison, led by Tiny, the 30-foot demonic troll. Flying above them is Kyle, riding on the back of his massive skeletal Abyssal Drake, with Seraphina and Alara by his side. He looks like a literal god of death descending upon the world. As they enter the Empire's borders, they pass through several civilian farming villages. The villagers, seeing a literal apocalypse marching toward them, fall to their knees, weeping and praying for mercy. Alara, standing on the Drake's back, asks Kyle if they should burn the villages to cut off the capital's food supply. Kyle looks down at the terrified farmers and shakes his head. "No," Kyle says, his voice echoing through the telepathic abyssal command network, reaching every single monster in his army. "We do not touch the innocent. We are not monsters. We are the new law. Anyone who harms a civilian will answer to my blade." The undead army parts like the Red Sea, completely bypassing the villages without trampling a single crop. The villagers stare in disbelief as the terrifying demonic horde marches past them peacefully. Kyle isn't here to destroy the world. He's here to surgically remove the cancer at the top of it. He is a villain to his enemies, but a savior to the people. When Kyle's army finally reaches the capital, the city is in absolute panic. The Archmage Council has activated the Aegis of the Heavens, a Tier 7 magical barrier that covers the entire city in a glowing, impenetrable dome of holy light. It's a barrier that could supposedly withstand a meteor strike. Inside the royal palace, Cedric is watching from the balcony, sweating bullets. He thought Kyle was dead. Now his monolith cripple of a brother is outside with a dragon, but Cedric tries to act brave. "Let him hit the barrier," Cedric yells to his generals. "He has no magic, he can't break it." Kyle smiles from the back of the Drake. Cedric is right. Kyle has no magic, but what Kyle does have is the ultimate anti-magic cheat code. Kyle leaps off the Abyssal Drake. He falls hundreds of feet through the air, dropping like a meteor straight toward the glowing golden dome. The Archmages laugh, assuming the impact will vaporize him, but the moment Kyle's boots touch the magical shield, it doesn't just block him, it deletes itself. A massive, gaping hole shatters into the barrier like glass. Kyle's absolute immunity instantly neutralizes the Tier 7 spell. The barrier collapses in a shower of golden sparks. The archmages choke on their own spit. Kyle lands gracefully in the city square, the concrete cratering beneath his maxed-out physical stats. He points his sword forward. Tiny, knock. The massive demonic troll steps up to the heavily fortified steel gates of the city and swings its dragon spine club like a baseball bat. The gates explode inward, sending guards flying. The abyssal army floods the capital. But true to his word, the undead beasts don't touch the civilian homes. They ignore the screaming commoners and surge directly toward the nobles' estates. The corrupt magic academies and the royal palace. It's a surgical, highly organized slaughter. Mages try to cast fireballs and lightning, but the abyssal monsters, buffed by Kyle's overlord aura, shrug off the damage and tear the corrupt nobles apart. Kyle, Seraphina, and Alara walk slowly up the steps of the royal palace. No one can stop them. Any mage who tries to cast a spell on Kyle watches in horror, as the mana simply vanishes on contact before Seraphina cuts them down with her terrifying sword aura. Alara blends into the shadows, assassinating the royal guard before they can even draw their weapons. They kick open the doors to the grand throne room. The entire Archmage Council is waiting, along with Cedric, who is hiding behind the throne, shaking like a leaf. The Grand Mage screams, "Die, you monolith freak!" The 12 Archmages combine their power to cast a forbidden Tier 8 spell, Void Annihilation. A swirling black hole of pure destruction shoots toward Kyle. Kyle doesn't even draw his dagger, he just holds out his hand. The black hole hits his palm and pops like a soap bubble. Ding, host has absorbed a Tier 8 spell. Exp overflow, level up, level up, level up. Host has reached max level, unlocking title, Abyssal Emperor. Kyle sighs, rolling his shoulders. Is that the best you've got? Honestly, I'm disappointed. Before the Archmages can cast another spell, Kyle uses his maxed-out agility. He teleports behind the Grand Mage and casually snaps his neck. Seraphina and Alara handle the rest in a brutal 10-second massacre. The room goes dead silent. The Archmages are dead. The Royal Guard is gone. It's just Kyle, his two beautiful and deadly retainers, and Cedric. Cedric falls to his knees, crying, begging for his life. He pulls out a hidden holy artifact, a dagger supposedly blessed by a god, and makes a desperate, cowardly lunge at Kyle's back. Kyle catches Cedric's wrist, squeezing until the bones shatter. The holy artifact falls from his grip and breaks into pieces on the floor. "You exiled me because I didn't have mana," Kyle says, his voice cold and devoid of any mercy. "You said I was a stain on this world. But look at you now, Cedric, begging a monolith cripple for your life." Kyle doesn't use his sword, he uses his bare hands. He delivers a satisfying, brutal, hyper-physical beatdown to his corrupt brother, paying him back for years of abuse and the assassination attempts. With one final, earth-shattering punch, Cedric's reign of terror ends permanently. Kyle walks up the steps and sits on the golden throne of the Holy Empire. The throne room doors open, and Tiny the Troll, the Abyssal Drake, and the rest of the undead army march in, bowing their heads in absolute submission. Seraphina stands at his right hand, her silver sword gleaming. Alara stands at his left, a dark smirk on her face. They look at their lord, the man who conquered the abyss, destroyed the corrupt empire, and protected the innocent. Kyle looks out over his new kingdom. He opens his system interface one last time and smiles. "The Holy Empire is dead," Kyle declares, his voice echoing out into the world. "Long live the tyrant." And that is the massive, epic conclusion to the story of Kyle, the monolith Abyssal Emperor. He proved that you don't need magic to rule the world when you have a broken system, a badass harem, and an undead dragon at your back. Thank you guys so much for watching this massive 2.5-hour recap. If you loved this format, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like. And let me know in the comments what kind of manhwa you want me to cover next. Until next time, peace out.